My name is Bear Saragusa, and this is the Hunting Hound podcast presented by W Hunting Supply. Join us as we go deep discussing hounds and everything hound related with the men and women from around the globe who've dedicated their lives to hunting with hounds. We ask them about the game they pursue, the breeds they run, and to get their insight into what it means to be a modern day houndsman. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Leave us a comment and subscribe wherever podcasts are available.
All right, what happened today?
Oh, me and my boys have been trying to do some line hunting because I got some time off from guiding. And this morning we went out. It was supposed to stop snowing like at 4 a.m, and it didn't start until like 4 a.m. So I don't know, man. I think I was listening to a podcast the other day with Ross, and he's like, you look at your weather app every 2 hours trying to figure out what's going to happen. That's the truth, man. That's the freaking truth. So I was watching the app. The app says, anyway, it started snowing at 4. We got up at 6, and I'm like, let's go. We'll see if we can find something. Dude, it was a complete whiteout.
Oh, man.
Nobody was hunting but me. So
anyway, had the whole mountain.
Yeah.
Why you got one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we found a little teeny dimple in the snow. I mean, it was like, I don't even know if this is going to work, but I put a couple of dogs down, and they were, you guys have seen it. They stick their nose underneath 4 inches of powder, that fluffy snow, and they just put their nose down in there, dig it, and then every once in a while Belle would be like, whoa, she could smell it. So
That's awesome.
I walked it for a ways to get it going and keep them kind of on it, and then after about a mile they finally could start trailing it, and then we cold trailed it for a couple hours, and then finally got it jumped, and it went into some nasty canyon.
Oh,
we caught
does,
it though.
Right?
We caught it. Yeah, we ended up having to come back and get the sleds and chain up trucks, and I got home a few hours ago. It was a day.
That's awesome, man.
But I had all my boys there, and my brother and his boys and my buddy, and so it was a good day.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Your brother lives close to you, doesn't he?
Yeah, my brother lives like 2 blocks away.
Oh, wow.
So you guys are pretty tight.
We are tight. We grew up hunting together all the time. And
that's cool.
I called him today. I'm like, dude, I'm going to need the snowmobiles to get into here. He's always willing to help.
That's awesome. Do you usually do the bird dog stuff with you? Or does he really like the hound stuff?
He actually has a Brittany. He loves the bird dog stuff. He's always in for, whenever we go to South Dakota, he was always in, which was great. So
cool.
Made it good to have a co-pilot.
Heck yeah.
That's such a key element, I think, is having that person that can help you out when it gets rough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you really need it.
Yeah, having the backup. My buddy Tadia is like that, where I my hounds got out while I was at work, and he had just knocked off some hellacious shift, and I was like, would you mind going and at least seeing if you can catch Buzz? It was Buzz and Vidby that were running, and he went up and caught both of them. He's, literally, including the rest of my family, he's the only other person that could, other than me, that could have caught Vidby.
Yeah.
And saved me an enormous amount of time and energy. So
yeah, I have a good buddy like that. Really good buddy. In fact, he came today because we needed a bigger sled to get through the powder to get the smaller sled up the hill.
Yeah, right.
Just like, Blaze Trail.
Yeah, dude, I need your help. And he brought over a brand new 1000, blah blah blah, and he just
brop.
I love hunting with him because he will never leave. Like, he'll never leave the mountain until he knows you're safe.
That's cool.
He does. Like, I don't care for how many times I tell him, like, oh, I'm good. I'm a mile away from the truck. I'm coming back, and he won't leave the mountain until like he can physically see you and be like, yep, okay, cool, everything's good. He's just one of those guys, the crap hits the fan, you can call him. So
right.
Yeah, those are handy to have.
Those are good guys to have. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we just did
Yeah.
that Houndsman for Heroes hunt.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It went killer, man. Like
Good.
honestly, it was one of the luckiest years we've ever had. We had 2 vets, and going into the weekend, we kind of thought we were going to be bare ground in it.
Okay.
Which
I remember sending you a message. I was like, "How's it looking?" You're like, "Dude,
not
conditions
good.
right now are not good."
No, it was horrible. Like they had gotten a couple of inches of snow, but it would, the roads had melted off or it was frozen. And we were just kind of sweating it because, like, my dogs don't run coyotes here, but that does not mean they're not going to run them over there. I don't know what it is, but it seems like when you go places, it's just that's the time they're going to do something stupid. So I'm thinking, crap, we're just going to be rodent dogs. And luckily, I had a spot that I elk hunt it and I deer hunt it with my buddy. And we had actually caught a cat there the year before. So I'm like, we'll just go up in there. And it turned out everybody kind of wanted to hunt it. So we were able to go split up. Guys would stay in groups and then, we'd split off and hit different roads. And it worked out really good. We had a couple that ended up that my buddy caught in some holes. And we had one bluff out. It was crazy, man. I watched where it came up into the bluff and it went in this little cavern, and then you could see where it shimmied up the backside, hit one patch of snow on a rock, and then bailed off.
Oh, wow.
Like just tricky, rocky stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of rocks there, so I mean, it happens. But the other one that went in the hole, I didn't even get a dog turned in. It happened so quick. Just turned loose. They went over, it jumped, and they ended up in this, rocky, bluffy spot again. But it was less than 200 yards from where my buddy Troy and I had caught the cat the year before. I mean, I looked at the track. I said, that cat is going for the same tree. Like it is going at the same trail, same spot, crossing in the road. I said, that thing, I know where he's going. And he stopped just shy of it. So we weren't able to get it.
Oh,
Wow.
shoot.
But, the other guys, they had really good luck. They actually ended up getting both vets 2 cats. And I don't think there was one of them that was. I mean, I wasn't there for the weigh-ins. I would say the light one was probably 20, and the other ones were like 25. I think there
Great
was
cat.
probably a 30 in there, and really beautiful cats.
Cool.
Awesome.
So it just kind of like it happened, but man, it was crazy shifts. We got there. I think I left 6 o'clock or 6:30 on Thursday morning. We got over there, ended up going hunting that night, got back at noon and took like a 4-hour nap, and then did not stop until I hit my door at like 8 o'clock on Saturday night. I mean, it was crazy. Like sleep deprivation is no joke. You start seeing stuff. It is crazy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's yeah.
When you start seeing things running across the road, it's time to pull over, whip out the jet boil, and make yourself a cup of coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
But the weather was so bad. That was like our first front that came in. Luckily, it was perfect for the hunting because we just kind of got the tail end. And game was moving. I mean, there was a lot of game moving. I've never seen so many like big cat tracks in a short period of time. I was blown away, and the cats, when they were moving, they were moving.
Yep.
So it worked out good for that. But coming home, that was going to get a little sketchy. I'm glad we made it home before it all really hit, because that strip from between here and over the Cascades and the Siskies, that's gnarly. When it gets icy and they start running snow plows on it, that's what my buddy says. If we go now, we're gonna make it over, before it gets too screwed up. And I'm glad we did.
Yep.
Huh.
And then we just got a bunch more.
Bunch more snow.
Crazy.
Yeah. How much snow do you have now?
Not much here, but I'm pretty low. We probably ended up with about 4 or 5 inches at my place.
Okay.
Nothing for anybody who gets snow. It's just where we're at, we don't get hardly any.
Right.
So you're not ready for it, I guess. Usually you get 1 or 2 days of snow around here, and the mountains will hold it for a while, but not down low.
Right.
But we've been pretty white since Christmas.
Oh, cool. Cool.
So,
What about you, Jared?
Sweet.
What have you got over there?
In the valley, we've got 3 or 4 inches, but today when we got off the sleds, man, it was waist deep. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's put it down the last few days up here, almost yeah.
How do
feet
those
in the
things
last few
run?
days.
Like in the deep snow? Do they probably don't run as long, huh? Once they're
Dude,
jumped.
Jason, we had that cat. We cold shelled that thing forever, and then we got it finally jumped. That son of a gun ran and ran and
Really?
ran. I was getting mad. I was like, these dang dogs,
Right.
they're gonna get whooped today. And it it was just a mean old cat, and it was doing figure eights, and it was a mountain lion, but it was running like a damn bobcat. I mean, it would
That's
go up
tricky.
its track, and then it would circle back around and come back its back track. And I've ran that cat before. I figured out. I'm like, I know who this is. This is gonna be a day. It's gonna be a day, boys.
Workout.
Yeah, I called my
That's
brother. I'm like, I
fun.
don't know if we're gonna make it today. I don't know if we're gonna make a tree today. And then I've got one little dog named Haley. She's kind of like she's Southwest dog bred, but up here she's learned to just put her head up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And when the mountain lions start doing that kind of crap to her, she just starts running like a bear. And then
Yeah.
then she pulls her head up and says, I know how to play this game. And she'll figure out a loss, boom, and she'll blow out of there. And that cat's like, oh crap. And then she'll
Yeah.
just run it down.
That's
It's kind of
awesome.
fun to watch her work. She's a pretty neat little dog.
That's a hard thing to find on a lot of dogs, I think.
Yeah, like
being able to pick your head up but know when to put it down.
when, right?
I was
Yeah,
just
it's
talking
like
to right before this. I had another podcast with Hitte Vanderkamp, who runs those Cole National Cat Hounds.
Yes.
And we were talking about that, where it's not necessarily a bad thing to have that mixed pack.
mhm.
Because
Right.
a lot of the guys we both know, have a mixed pack. Have plots and then one or two of something else, or
Yeah.
and there's really something to be said for having a combination of dogs that can kind of balance out, flesh out your pack a little bit in terms of, it makes sense to have that dog that can really lift up its head and put a lot of pressure on a jumped animal.
Mhm.
But, on the flip side, it's also awfully nice to have that slow, methodical pot licker type dog to work through the real hard shit.
Yeah.
And, he was, yeah, I don't think he'll be moving to Norway anytime soon, put it that way, with the only running one dog thing. He was like, God,
That's not
I don't know
happening.
about this.
I don't know about that. Yeah, like today I have 2 dogs they'll just sit and grind. And
Yeah.
I put them down and I put that little dog Haley down with them, and it's like, yeah, it's a lethal combination, man. We catch a lot of cats.
That's cool.
It's a lot of fun. And they're smart and they're in good shape right now. Hell, they came off of bear season, went right into cat season. I mean, I don't think I've talked to you guys since September.
No, it's
Chasing
been a while.
I don't
bears.
think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
My wife had that bear tag, and we were it's been full throttle, man. Full throttle.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun.
that's cool. Did she feel it?
No, we never did find a big enough boar that was like, I did have a bear on the ground one day that we just couldn't get to. She just couldn't get there, and that's fine. And I told her when we got the tag, because we were on alternate. One of the alternates, somebody turned their tag back like 2 weeks before the season. It's like, hey, do you want this
Oh.
tag? And I'm like, heck yeah, we'll just take it and go train and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We trained a bunch of young dogs and just had fun. When there's like 3 days left of the hunt, she was like, I could just tell she was done. And I'm like, you're done. That's fine. No big deal. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
no
not,
pressure.
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I burned her out of mule deer hunting our first year we were married. So I'm not gonna burn her out of hounds if I can
If you can avoid it.
prevent that. Yeah.
Got to treat him like a promising pup, I guess.
That's
We had
kind
a
of how my
blast.
deer season went though too. It was like there was so much going on, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hunt. This is my last day. Like, and just knowing sometimes you gotta call it quits. Like when you're done, you're done. And with dogs, they hit a point where, luckily you're hunting close to home. But I think the guys that are traveling, like my buddy Mark Boyer, seems like he's always going lion hunting now. And it's like, that is such a cool thing to do. I would love to do it someday. But he said something to me. He's like, you don't have to make it a real long trip. By the time you get over there and the snow cuts the dog's feet up, you're going to get 2-3 good days of hunting.
Right.
So, just jump in and go. But
Right.
Yeah. It's the snow conditions I find to be, that's a challenging aspect of all this. Because I've got guys coming here next week that are coming because the conditions here are better than the conditions really anywhere else. In terms of, the sort of, we got a bunch of snow, close to a month ago, and then it kind of compacted, and then we had a couple real warm days, so it got that real nasty ice crust on top of powder. So, it just shredded the dogs.
The razor blades.
Yeah, it just shredded the top of their toes and their wrists and stuff like that. So, now people are coming up here to train, which is cool. I get to see a lot of different dogs run and get to see what they're doing and kind of stack my dogs up against theirs in terms of, what we're able to get done. A little difficult, for me this year because I've only got Dan really that's a
Dan the
functional
Wonder
dog.
Pup.
Yeah, and I mean he's just a pup, and I'm just trying to at this point just I trained Buzz, did a lot of training with VP and stuff, but at the same time trying to avoid doing anything too stupid with him. I'm still new enough at this hound thing that I can avoid some of the big sort of general dog training mistakes, some of them anyway, and then just trying not to mess Dan up too bad.
That's the worst part about having a good pup is your only job is to just don't screw it up, and inevitably we always find a way to screw something up.
Isn't that
some of us more than others? I will admit it. Some more than others.
Yep.
It's like you just got to step back and think of how you can set them up.
Yeah.
To advance, more than what you can do to help them almost.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I went from having, I had a killer dog in Buzz until he mentally just fell apart.
Dang it.
You talked about that in the past, though. That mentally tough. I forget. Maybe it was the foot episode that we did, but we were just talking about, getting to the point where the dogs are just a machine when it's time.
Yep.
And they know, and they just make that shift into being that Rambo.
Yep.
Just mentally tough battle dogs. That might not be a great term for it, but
but it's
on a mission.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that kind of, Marine quality to them where they're just like, no bullshit, no, like, oh, do we have to, just like head down, getting the job done. And, Buzz never got there. He was always kind of this sort of happy-go-lucky, like, well, what are we doing today, boss? It was like, and which was a fun quality on the one hand, but on the other hand, I always got this feeling that even when he was putting a lot of foxes in holes, I always got this feeling that he wasn't taking it super seriously.
Yeah.
And, it didn't really bother me because he was getting the job done. We were getting, we were doing, really having some, a lot of great runs. But, as soon as, it's I used to be a journalist for an MMA publication, and I covered the UFC.
No kidding.
And
dude, is there anything you haven't done?
Like, he's the most interesting man in the world. Like, nobody knows this.
Like, where did that come from?
Where did that come from? Sorry. Yeah, no,
that's funny.
Me and Joe Rogan, we're like besties.
We're best buddies. No, but
you need a disclaimer. He might come after you. I don't know, man.
No. I've never. That was the funny thing is I did it from sort of a
Oh, don't try to skip over this. This is going to take at least a solid couple minutes,
all
man.
Right.
Yeah,
I want to hear the UFC.
I didn't. I never worked for the UFC. I never worked. I actually have never been to a UFC card. But I did. I wrote articles and did live coverage, like live. live, not tweeting necessarily, but like live coverage of the UFC event. So I got, I streamed all of the events onto my computer here and sort of did the blow by blow as it was happening.
Oh man.
And actually covered, I got to cover some awesome fights. The best, there were two that were really good. I got to cover the fight where Anderson Silva broke his leg.
Oh, that was brutal.
That was brutal, man. And then I got to cover the Mark Hunt Bigfoot Silva fight.
I didn't see that one.
It's one of the craziest heavyweight fights of all time. And then the last one, one of the last ones I got to cover was this awesome. Everybody basically knows this fight. It's the one where Ronda Rousey got head kicked by Holly Holm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was kind of segueing into with, with this conversation about Buzz, is that
he's like Ronda Rousey
a little bit, because he.
Sorry, Ronda.
I kept, I kept wondering, and I would mention it out loud, and man, I would get so much hate when I wrote articles, and even just kind of vaguely mention that I'm going to be interested to see what happens when she gets in real deep water, because that was the thing. Is like she had an early fight with Liz Carmouche, and she almost got submitted, but managed to fight after it, but was never really in a lot of trouble. Never really got hit hard, She had this mystique about her and was just such a maniac, Tasmanian devil when she would go in there, that she would just, it got to the point where, she would people would have lost. These other gals would have lost before they got in there. They were just so psyched out by just how intense she started.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just kept saying, I wonder what's going to happen. It was just like in the back of my mind, wonder what's going to happen when one of these gals manages to weather that storm and then catches her with something hard. And it was, that's what happened. It's what happened with Holly Holm. It's what happened when she came back and fought Amanda Nunes. Amanda caught her, and just all the fight went out of her, just all of the, just all the air went out of that balloon. And that was sort of the same vibe. I remember saying it to a buddy of mine. I've got a real Ronda vibe with this Buzz dog. Like, there's no question that this is a super talented individual, but I'm going to be real interested to see what happens when he ends up in deep water. And that's what happened. He hauled a fox out of a hole by its tail, and it whipped around and bit him, a bitty little fox, and
it was like, I remember you saying too, he didn't even like bite him hard. He just had two little canines in the top of his nose. No, but
that was the thing. It wasn't even a puncture wound. It was like a scrape. It was like, it was not, it didn't even go through all of the layers of skin.
Right.
Like, we're not talking like factor. Right. I mean, we're not talking pain. Some huge gaping wound that anybody or hit him in the eye or something, blinded him. And I could get that. We're talking like a paper cut, man. We're talking like
no, pain didn't turn that dog off. Surprise turned that dog off. It was the
surprise, and he took off. He let go of the fox in surprise, and they went screaming across the road in front of me. And he was right on it. And then I heard, as soon as he got into the forest on the other side of the road, I heard the bark change. And it was like, oh, I haven't heard this before. This is something new.
Something happened.
And it was like,
I'm done.
And then it was quiet. And then he comes like skulking out of the woods. It was like, okay, well, you got a hard knock. We'll get back at it. That was 16th of August. That was 16th of August. That was the last second that dog hunted.
Yep.
Dang. That sucks.
Oh, dude.
Jared will probably agree with me on this, because you've got a pretty good range of dogs, right, Jared? I mean, you're not hunting, like, you're not colorblind. You got mixed up dogs, different styles of dogs.
Yep.
The problem is you got to have a dog with a little bit of dirt in them. You can't have those dogs that are too overly smart, I think. Yep. They're the ones that get turned off the fastest.
Yep. It's the same with the sled dogs, man. The lead dogs, you've got to find a balance between an intelligent dog that's intelligent enough to learn the commands, but not smart enough to think, what the hell am I doing up here?
Yeah, what's gonna happen?
Why am I
Right.
still running?
What?
Yeah,
What is
exactly.
this?
Oh, the hardest bird dogs to train are those ones that, like day 12 of woe training, they look at you and they're like, I wonder if I can get out of this by doing this today. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Like
Yeah.
dealing
But
with a 3-year-old all day.
once you get them trained though, they can be freaking rock stars. For me, it's grit, man.
Yeah.
Like they can be smart, but if they don't have the grit to go with it, yeah, like I've had some pretty smart, awesome dogs, young dogs, and then similar to what you've had happen with Buzz, it's like they get in their first bear tussle, and it's like, nope, I'm not doing this, and it's
Right.
like, crap, come on, dude,
Yeah. You know,
have some stick.
yeah, man. That's rough because, you know, Virpi, I've talked a bunch about her. You know, she's having her best season ever this year. Which is really cool. It's really gratifying. But that dog is dumb. I mean, she's dumb. She is just dumb as a bag of hammers. You look at her and both eyes sort of start drifting off in different directions. I mean, she's dumb, but
That's
she's
funny.
got grit, and I can work with that.
Yeah, right.
You know, I feel like I can get out there and do something with that, even if every step is painfully slow, because she's just has had some bad experience, learned the wrong lessons, and is bottom line, it's going to take me a couple of rounds to train her to do even basic stuff anyway, because she needs that time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, some dogs just, I think, don't pick things up. I own one of them.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, did you learn anything from what just happened?
Right.
Right.
You know, the next time you take him out, and it's like, okay, are we starting over again? You know, little stuff here. And it's never like, it's just enough to keep you guessing. Like, what's going on?
Right.
Yeah. When you get
Like,
on
you
that,
know enough.
Yeah. You get to that too much dirt to dirt.
Yeah.
And you just, that's all they ever do is dirt to dirt. They don't ever.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you doing? You're 2 years old. What's going on?
What is going on here? Yeah. But I mean, still with Virpi, you know, I had the time to put into her, and I'm really glad I did. It taught me a lot in a very short period of time. You know, and Buzz benefited tremendously from the experiences that I had with her, and Dan is benefiting from the experiences I had with both of them.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, back to what you were saying about grit is I can, you know, at this point after what happened with Buzz, I poured an enormous amount of time into Buzz. And he got, you know, we were out there all the time, and he got really good. I mean, he was approaching kind of finished hound at, you know, 2.5. By the end of this season, I'm betting if things had kept going at the same rate that they had been going, he would have been you know, easily a finished hound. Last year we had, you know, including the 2 runs this year, you know, we had 35 runs, and where we ended up with, what was that? It was 35 runs where 31 of them denned.
Oh, geez.
I mean, he was on fire. And, you know, they just didn't have the grit. And it was something I was wondering about the whole time, because he was such an easy dog to train. Just basic obedience stuff. You know, he's so smart, and he was so soft. You know, all I needed to do was say, and he'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, and which made him really easy to train. But on the flip side, you know, it made me wonder about the grit. Whereas Dan, on the other hand, is just this.
There's no off switch.
Oh my gosh! I mean, he's
bonsai.
Oh,
he's a plot, dude. What'd you expect?
But not
like,
only that,
honest.
Yeah, but not only is he a plot, you know, but he's on all the time, and he tries things again and again and again. Not because he's dumb. Like Virpi will be like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be up on the table. I'm sorry." You know, whereas Dan's like, I'm gonna hop up on this table because F you, that's why.
And you can drag me off of here when you're ready.
Right.
Yep.
And you know, he's an easy-ish dog to train. He's a lot of fun to train, but he's got that streak of like F you that occasionally pops up.
Yeah.
And I love
That's
that.
good. Just make sure he's got a shot collar on.
Yeah, I mean, I love that about him. You know, just the other day, I had my best day of fox hunting, just in terms of number of foxes we got moving, about a month ago, and we got one on his feet almost immediately. Where he chased it under a barn. I don't have the den dog. Couldn't get anybody to come out to me with a dog. So we broke off from that one, and on the way back to the truck, he bumped some roe deer, and just like I saw him, he saw him. I said, "Don't even think about it." He looked at me, looked at the deer, looked at me, and just took off like a bat out of hell.
Like a cartoon.
Yeah. So I had to jump in the truck, drive around, up a little higher, get in front of him, you know, get him stopped, and then still, you know, big argument, tackling him, hauling him off back to the truck, you know, telling him what I thought about that. Still got him on a fox 30 minutes later and got 2 more on their feet before the end of the day.
That's awesome.
Dang.
You know, but he's that dog that he's got so much grit. You know, it takes a special dog to get kicked in the face as a pup
Like a moose.
by a moose, and then have this attitude that this is the animal I'm going to this is the animal I'm going to go after. Because I had a hard time breaking him off a moose this season.
Oh, they got a grudge, man.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's a lot of it. The first one, you either flip the switch on and it is a vendetta from there on. I mean, or it flips the switch. Like, I mean, Mick's blessing, I think a dog like Buzz, and I mean no disrespect by this, and it might not be a popular opinion, but he was either going to quit on you that day, or he was going to quit on you in 6 months, or he was going to quit on you in a year or 2 years. It just was taking that catalyst to make that happen, that he was going to quit.
Absolutely.
You know, you just kind of hope you can build enough confidence in them that they can overcome it. Because I think a dog like Dan, there's no coming back. Like, look at the goat situation.
Right.
Moose, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, goats,
he
moose,
comes back
whatever.
with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Where a dog like Buzz, you know, he's a lot softer dog, I would say. Where it's like, you know, you could build the confidence maybe to a point where he could come back from that, but he would always be hesitant. Then he would run him, and he'd run him not like he should be running him, and you'd just be fighting that for the rest until he tussled with one, I think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where we got to with the whole thing. It was just like, you know what, this is not positive for him. It's not positive for me. It's super positive for Dan, because I got a bunch of time suddenly freed up where I have a whole other dog that I don't need to train here.
Yep.
So, you know, I gave him a good long break, tried to get him in on a couple of Dan's runs, and just is not having it. You know, last time I dropped him on a bait pile that a friend of mine has up the valley. Went up there, dropped him on Buzz on that bait pile, knowing because of the cameras that there had been a fox there 10 minutes before we got there. And he went in there, sniffed around, like found the way the fox had left. And then like I could see like his head went down. I was 30 yards behind him. And he sort of did this like half look over his shoulder, skulked off like a coyote up into the woods, did a big round. And I found him.
Not gonna look like I'm doing something.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was just like squeaking through the underbrush. And I found him under the truck.
Jeez.
And, you know, if I'd been like, you know, screaming at him, wailing on him, you know, hurling him into fox tracks, being like, get your ass going, I would have understood like the lack of confidence that he was displaying.
Sure.
But it's you know, none of that's happened. It's just been like me just walking with him, waiting for that spark to reignite, and it just didn't. Just hasn't. Yeah.
You hate to say it, but sometimes that spark goes out.
Yeah. Sometimes, and I think in his case it did, you know. And it's funny though, because he was the man here, big and proud and puffed out his chest, and he, after that whole fox thing, I mean, not even the cat respects him anymore.
What about other game? Can you?
No,
because you can.
He's afraid of the forest at this point.
Really,
that's
wild.
In my entire career with working dogs, I have never ever experienced a dog that quit so fully as Buzz has. I've experienced only a handful of dogs that have really truly quit, and I have never experienced a dog that was so talented at something that then turned around and was just like full off switch.
I had one.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And it was a messy situation. And it sucked because we were, I was just starting. So
Mhm.
I was hunting with my buddies in California and, just tagging along kind of deal. But that's all that dog really knew other than trash. Like I didn't know
Right.
what I was doing in trash breaking. So she knew what a deer was, I'm sure, and possums, and she liked the occasional skunk.
Mhm.
But the day I found a bear track in the snow, and I said, I'm done. I got a breaker on him. I don't want to be, running any chance of getting in trouble or anything like that. And I shocked her on a bear track, and that dog never took another track in her life. That was the off switch. And
Wow.
it came up, turned off as fast as I saw it turn on with her when she was a buck.
Wow.
It was like an instant. Like when she got mad, she was gonna get in there. She was a pretty gritty coon dog.
Mhm.
Bears, she was never fast enough really to stay up in the front. But it was like, she just turned it on really quick, really young, and then just as fast that flame was just gone. Like you
Yeah.
took away the one thing that she really wanted, and she just quit on me, and that was it.
Yeah.
Dang.
You ever have one quit, Jared? Come on, make us feel better here.
I've had I've seen maybe a handful, one or two. I've had lots of stories told to me about guys that have had dogs that they've in the bird dog world, on occasion it'll be like gun shyness.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Gun shyness to the point where if the guy goes to his gun cabinet, the dog literally goes in another room and lays down. Like if you pick up
Wild.
yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've been told of two different dogs that, like, if you pulled a gun, if you loaded the dog in the truck and you went out and you were just doing your normal run, fine. And then the minute you pull the shotgun out of the scabbard, the dog would just boom right in the box, just like shaking, terrified.
It's
Wow.
got
So
to be like
it's
bad
got to be
experience in the field, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
but it's
percussion and
but if you think about it from the dog's point of view, it's very similar to what you guys are saying with Buzz or with this other dog. It's like there was something that they enjoyed, and there's an event that happened, and
yeah.
when that event happened, it marked that dog. And it's probably typically the mentally weaker dogs that really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are you going to equate it to other than a little bit of? I've had one other guy that's made. Yeah, the nature versus nurture conversation. Some people just aren't going to have hunting dogs because they teach that
They're
dog, they
not hard
nurture that.
enough.
Yeah, they exactly. They're so soft that when they come to the field,
The
it's like, you
people
want me
or
to
the
work?
dogs?
Well, the
Dogs.
people, the
Yeah.
people
Okay.
make the people live a lifestyle that they feel like the dog is being nurtured and loved, and
Yeah.
everything's a fluffy pillow. And yeah, I try to tell people it's like your kids. If your kid played Xbox every day for the 3 or 4 years, and then you're like, hey, see that line right there, we've got to dig a water line from here 20 feet that way. It's got to be 2 feet deep and 3 feet wide, and here's a shovel. They're gonna look at you like,
No way.
no, I'm gonna go do
Right.
my Xbox thing, right?
Right.
It's same thing with dogs. It's like, not saying that that's what you guys are doing, but there's times when dogs are so soft that they come to the kennel. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I know this dog's genetics. I know it's been bred to do this, but you have nurtured it into a couch potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's that could definitely be part of what's happened here with Buzz, just in the sense that it's so cold here. It's hard to have dogs out all the time. So as he's got he really lives in the lap of luxury in a lot of ways.
Right.
Kids love him. He's a great family dog, so he's kind of been
Yeah, but
pampered.
you've put him on a lot of games. So
I
a lot of these
have,
dogs
early
a
on,
lot of these dogs haven't seen that game. They've never had
Yeah,
the
right.
light bulb turned on. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
Right.
yeah, right.
So when you're out there trying to turn the light bulb on, they're looking at you like, "Oh hell no! I'm not
Why would
doing
I do
this.
that?
Right.
Why would I run around and work my butt off to find a bird? No. I want to sit on the couch and get
Right.
cookies."
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
that's where I'm coming from.
yeah, I get that, and I'm the same way. It's like I'm the same way. Buzz had so much promise that I was hoping that I was gonna be wrong, and that I was just worrying, being kind of the first hound pup I was training on my own, and stuff like that. I had my reservations, but ultimately, I'm not going to try to force a dog to do something it doesn't want to do. And
You
I
can't.
do have Dan. I've got VP. I've got other dogs to train. But I don't think it. Having done it, having gone through the whole thing, I saw the warning signs really early on. I think that there may be some things there that as I sort of get some distance from it, I become kind of the deal breaker type stuff. Everybody's got a deal breaker, a quality in a dog that they're just like, this
Can't
dog
do
might
it.
work for someone else, but this is not a dog I want to spend a lot of time on. And
Right.
there are going to be qualities that I saw early on in Buzz, I think, that become kind of deal breakers for me. If I and we'll see what they end up being, but I'm also pretty focused at this point that any dog that comes in here is going to be from really, really gritty, proven stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this breeding that they did, the parents are great. Mom's super mellow, dad was a machine, but it's breeding two dogs from totally mixed breed father to a purebred mother.
There's
Very
no
different types of
consistency.
dogs, no consistency. It was one of those things where they were like, we want to try it and see what happens. And all of the dogs ended up kind of similar. Went off real hard, started real early, and there's some dogs there that are still doing really well, but then there's a couple of them. There's Buzz is not the only one that where they ended
Really?
up kind of backing off a little bit after a couple of or after a bad experience.
Yeah, but look
So
at how much you learned through that.
oh,
Because
I
I
mean, a
remember
ton,
like chatting
yeah.
with you through all, even Buzz like really turning the corner and coming on. And hindsight's always 2020,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where you can learn from the same experience several times over several years
Oh
because you
yeah.
look back at it and you think about it differently. And it's, that's the point of having buddies to kick stuff around with too,
Right.
like
Right.
early starting dogs. I've had a lot of them that really, man, as young dogs, they were coming on and doing great. And then they'd plateau.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, you're either going to flip the switch one way or you're going to juke the other. And, it's interesting watching how some dogs, there's a definite like bell curve, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the dogs that are just really early coming on, but in the end, like it doesn't matter where they're starting, it's where they're coming, at the top of their game
Right.
and what they do with that, if they can maintain it or if it's a quick up and down kind of thing where you've got a few short years of really finely tuned dog.
Right. High intensity performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and that's all stuff that with a husky, I could walk a husky through the sort of the growing up, the puppyhood, the young adulthood, getting to that peak performance, reaching the top, their maximum potential. I could walk them right up to that line. I knew exactly where that line was, and I'd run so many huskies that I knew with each individual dog, I knew exactly where that line was going to be as I approached it, as I got close to it, where, it was like, I know that within the next 100 yards, this dog is either going to lay down or he's going to shake it off and keep trucking, and then I'm going to have something to work. Then I'll have this dog here.
Right.
And
are they going to commit?
Within 50 yards, I would have made my decision whether I was going to keep going or whether I was going to stop before that dog laid down. Because I don't ever want to have a dog lay down. Ultimately, that's
sure.
That's my goal, is to show them that they're capable of more than even they think that they are. And if I've done my work right, I've got that trust that when I ask them for that, they rise to the occasion instead of falling apart.
Yeah.
With the hounds, I don't have the experience, even close the experience necessary to know where that line is. And I was honestly just kind of blown away that was where the line was with when it didn't make sense to me that was where the line was with Buzz when it first happened. But as you said, hindsight being 2020, you and I had talked about it. I'd mentioned my reservations around that kind of thing in the past, wondering what was going to happen when things got rough. And he threw in the towel earlier than I thought he was going to. But yeah, if I was a better houndsman, more experienced, had the toolkit necessary, I might have been able to save him as a usable hunting dog. But I just don't have the depth that necessary myself to be able to get him through that. I've done kind of everything I can think of myself. I've talked a bunch to you, Jared. I've talked a bunch to you, Jason, about it, and talked to a bunch of other people, just kind of trying to get feedback, ideas, and have really kind of within reason tried everything,
yeah, but you got to go off what the dog is too. I mean, if they either have it or they don't. There's a lot of dogs out there that I feel can do a good job for people, but when it comes to everybody wants to be a cowboy until it's time to do cowboy shit.
Right.
That's the truth, and it's, well, Jared, I mean, like, kind of to circle back, like, Barry, you're talking about wanting a more gritty dog, like, Dan has turned out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you, Jared, were talking about those dogs that like to flip you the middle finger, because they're so strong-willed. Like, that comes with its challenges, but I'm curious, in your experience, those dogs that like to flip you the bird, they're the ones that seem to, when they finish out, that is a machine for the rest of his life. You might need a tune-up every once a season or something, but it seems like they are the ones that are just the tried and true, hold it together, stoic. They have a different look about them.
Mm-hmm.
They have a different attitude. They're just a different type of dog.
Yeah, stoic's a great word to paint that picture, because one dog that comes to mind is that I have his name. Well, he passed away, but his name is Todd, and we were running him on bears down in the desert, and that dog, it was like, it's always really cool for me to see a dog that just continually gets just a little bit better, just gives you just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where it was like, you'd start 6 dogs and all but one dog has fallen out of the race, and you're like, there's no way he's going to push that bear another mile to get it to tree or to go in a hole. And he would, and he'd just give it. And that's kind of what you're talking about, I think, there, Jason, a little bit, is that Todd got to that point where he was not going to quit. Like, it's not going to happen, right? He's going to fall over dead, or he's going to tree the bear.
Yeah.
It just that. And I remember one of the first times he got swatted in the face by a mountain lion, and it was in a low tree, and that that lion just whack. And I looked at him and I'm thinking, okay, this is it, man. He's 18 months old, and he's either going to fire or he's going to crawl out of that tree and be like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And his instant reaction was he just went to a whole nother octave. Like, he got his head swapped. He turned around and he just went berserk. And when that
Yep.
happens as a houndsman, you're just like, yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one we're looking
that's
for.
the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, absolutely. I mean, yeah, those.
They're a little harder to train. It depends on your personality, though. Like it's the same with bird dogs. I've got some guys that can train. Some guys are like total alpha males, you know, they're pretty hardcore guys, and they need a dog that if they kick him in the butt for getting in the cat food, that the dog doesn't go over the corner,
Doesn't
you know,
crumble
Right.
on them.
crumble on him, right? So, you know, a lot of people, you got to match up the right dog with the right people and be like, hey, this is a little softer dog, but it's going to work out great for, you know, your wife that's home with the dog every day and your 3 kids.
Right.
Oh,
Sure.
cool. Yeah, that's in the hound world. That's a little different than the bird dog world, but same
Right.
concept. Like, man, it's like you want that fine line, right? The fine line of the grid, the hard headedness, the FU, whatever you want to call it, but not so stubborn that it's like get in the truck. No.
Right.
Like,
It's
dude, get
got
in
to
the
be
truck.
balanced out with some bitability, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some brains. It's like,
Right.
dude, we've been hunting all day. You caught the lion. We're all tired. Get in the truck. No. It's like,
Well,
oh, those,
See you later. Bye. No.
yeah, well, enjoy your night. I had
Right.
a few of those when I first started, man. They wouldn't come off the hill, and I was like, see ya.
Oh, that's the
I'll see you
worst.
tomorrow, man. You spend the night up there, and they'd spend the night up there, and they wouldn't come home. And I'm like, no, I'm not owning this dog. It's just not going to happen. Like,
I was.
you know what I'm asking you to do, and you're
Yeah.
deliberately just saying no. And I'm like,
Right.
no.
I just had one of those moments recently with my young dog.
I was going
She's
to ask
just
you,
over a year.
how's your pack coming, Jason? How's fox season going?
It's rough, man. Real rough. I lost my lead dog.
Oh
And
no, what happened?
oh, she had kidney failure.
Oh shoot.
So it was just that was tough because I mean she was a really nice dog. And then these other ones I got, you know, they're nice dogs too, but they're nice at certain things. They're not, I guess I've never pushed them to be as well rounded as I should have. You know, they've got a lot of the concepts and I mean they can run a track like crazy. But when it comes to grubbing up a cold one or, you know, confidence for starting them, they usually end up running in the pack. So we're struggling. And me just getting out, you know, I haven't gotten out near like I should lately. So it's just going to take some time putting them on it. You know, they've seen enough animals, they know what they're doing. It's just like, okay, you guys used to carry some weight here, but now I need you to carry the weight here
Right.
and kind of, you know, learn the ropes. They're either going to do it or they're not. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if they've got it. I don't know if I've got it. Honestly, with as much as I'm hunting them right now, it's
Right.
not really what they need. I know they need more than what I'm giving them, but we did have a couple of good runs. But that young dog, she's just over a year, and she got flung out. You know, kind of close to where we were. She just got flung out of the race, and she kind of laid down. And I thought, crap, this is it. You know, she's just not going to come. She knows how to come. You know, the dog's recall, it's not an issue. We do this all the time. And she had
Right.
just quit. So I ended up walking down in there thinking, well, I'll just get close and tone her out. No big deal. Well, then you start hitting that point in your walk where you're closer to the dog to just go all the way than to turn
Right.
around and go back to the truck. So my buddy and his kid were in the truck waiting for me, and I felt horrible, you know, because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to run down there and call her out. Next thing you know, an hour and 10 minutes later, whatever it was, here I come with my dog. But, you know, I could see her light through the trees. And it's like, this dog is not that far from me. You know, she's 400 or 500 yards, but I know she can hear me because she's looking at me when I call her.
Yeah.
I see the light. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, we're going to try it. And this is either going to get her to
Yeah.
bump off and come over here, or I'm going to have
Right.
to walk my butt all the way to that dog and go get her.
Yeah.
And I just gave her a little bump, and that was it. The dog just laid down, get up to her. She's on a pretty good rock. I don't want to say a bluff, but it was a big, like, rock outcropping, I guess. I don't know. It was pretty elevated. I mean, it was probably 15 foot, 15
Wow.
or 20, but I could climb up it. It wasn't like a straight faced.
Right.
But I get up in there and I can see I'm 5 yards from this dog and I can't see her. And I'm starting to freak out thinking she fell in a crevice or something. And I get up there and she was just tucked under a madrone bush or
Yep.
manzanita bush. And I looked at her and I like, crap, is she dead? You know, I didn't know what the heck was going on because she was just not responding to me. And I saw her cock her head a little bit and wouldn't look at me. I went up and I just turned my light off. I patted her and I said, "It's all right. Come on, Twitch, let's go."
Yep.
Wouldn't get up. I tugged her collar once. She got on her feet and she never stopped the rest of the way out. You know, but it was like I knew in that moment I was going to have to go get that dog all the way, you know, because she's just that kind of temperament too. She's a little, I don't even want to say soft, just coyote. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
it's hard to explain, but you know,
I struggle with the coyote dogs. I've had those. I don't do well
it's
with them.
tough. It's
They're
not
hard.
fun.
I've had a lot of guys tell me how well that they turn out, but I'm like, dude,
It's
I
really
struggle
hard, I
with that.
think.
Are there other dogs? I was going to kind of ask you, I wanted to ask you kind of how you, as you're building packs, you know, I definitely have a dog that I like, you know, a type of dog that I like, especially after, you know, all the stuff I've done with Vippy and with Buzz and with Dan, you know, the experiences I've had, as limited as they are, you start to sort of form your opinion of what you want, what you're looking for in a dog.
Right.
You know, as you're building your pack, Jared, you know, I'm interested in you as a dog trainer who has to train all of these different types of dogs and probably has the toolbox necessary to train a much wider variety of dogs than I ever would have. You know, do you still have qualities that you're like in your own pack where you're just like, I could train this dog, but I don't want to?
Yeah, I kind of have one right now that's so I kept four litter mates. Last winter I had a lion throw yeah. I lost two dogs last winter on a lion on a cliff.
Okay.
And it was like my two 1-year olds that were just cranking, man. They were doing so awesome. So I'm kind of frustrated. I love having those 2-year olds on bears that can they just got so much piss and vinegar. It's like, yeah, you want to run? Let's run.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my pack's getting a little top end heavy on the age there, like, you know, 6, 5, 6, 8, 7. Anyway. So I kept 4 pups out of this last litter. And I have one in there that he's not coyote, but he's just kind of like, yeah, I'll just hang back here in the box until you grab my collar and then I'll come to the front. It's like where the other 3 are just blowing the door open. And
Right,
it's like,
right.
you know, that it would help that dog. It would benefit that dog to go to somebody that has no young dogs. And that guy could build a bond with that one-on-one pup. I think he would do better than
Yeah.
staying with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I dog train, so I'll get him there. It'll just take a little bit longer. But
Sure.
seeing that out of those 4, I kept seeing that one that's just a little bit like he's a little bit slower. He's a little bit hesitant. For me, I struggle with that dog. It's like, dang, man, I'm just not going to put as much time into you
Sure.
as I am these other 3 that are just rocking and rolling.
Right.
Yeah, because it's going to take away from them. That's like the constant battle.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. So
Yeah.
that you know, that kind of dog, I'm just
Um,
like, could I spend 2 years or 3 years on that dog and make him a dog? Yeah. Will I probably get him a dog? Will I make him? And then the other thing I've learned is there's other hounds at different levels, and Jason understands this probably. Like a dog for me that's average might be a world beater for somebody else,
Right.
or even myself. Hey, Jared, this dog's average in my pack, but when he comes to me, it's like this dog's freaking great, you know, because
Yeah.
of the terrain I hunt or because of the game that we hunt or whatever.
Sure.
So there's just different, but
well,
I'm
everybody's
trying
got different expectation levels.
I'm pretty hard on, yeah, man, I've gone through a lot of dogs.
Hmm.
I mean, I started off with walkers. My buddy has plots. I've seen it all. And the only reason the blue dogs that I hunt now is they have the capability, they have the same nose capabilities as a walker. Their feet are 10 times tougher. Their feet they got a ton of hair in their feet. This blue line that I'm running, and I don't know it as well as I do my bird dogs. I could tell you I had 6 generations on my bird dogs. On my hounds, people message me all the time. They're like, "What hound line are you?" And I have to just send them the pedigree because I can't keep it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
man, I'm looking. One guy said it this way. He's like, instead of having a quarterback, a receiver, a running back, and a lineman, I want to have 6 quarterbacks. And I thought, man, that's kind of a cool way to put it, 6 dogs that doesn't matter which one strikes, doesn't matter which one's leading, they all honor each other, and they're just they're just a machine.
Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to build right now. I've got 4 of them, 5 of them, but they're all coming up on 6, 7, and 8. And then my next dog's
hard, man.
My next dog's like 4, and he's a hammer. He's a hammer, but he's just not one of those dogs that's like, oh, it's cold? Cool. Let me know when you warm it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he's not gonna put his nose to the ground and just grind. He's just not.
Right.
And that's partially on me because I didn't train him. I didn't start him the right way. I've relied a lot on my older dogs, and I let my older dogs start a lot of stuff, and then I kick those young dogs in. That's not. I don't know, man. I love how that works, but I've got a buddy that'll take a dog, he's got a 1-year-old dog right now out of that same litter that'll start a track, catch its own line.
How did he get that?
Well, he
what would you have done differently?
He put her behind the older dogs a little bit.
Yeah.
But then he stopped and cut her completely out and started making her start her own and walking a track with her and making her do all the pieces, right? A, B, C, all the way to Z.
Sure.
Yeah. And I find myself sometimes being lazy and just like, okay, cool, these 3 will start it, and then I'll turn the pups in behind it. Yeah. But then you get a 4-year-old that's just like waiting for that track to warm up. Yep.
Right.
Get like mine. Up,
right. Well, I mean, you say being
But
lazy, but I mean, what you're talking about is it's not an easy thing to do. What that walking a dog, that's because that's what we've got to do here. And I wear out a good pair of leather hunting boots on every dog every pup that I've started.
Right.
Because most of the time they can, I would rather do the work and walk in there. But there are days where if you had said, hey, if you pay me $10,000, I will fly out there right now with a finished dog so you don't have to keep walking, I would be like, I will wait until you get here.
Right. Right.
It's so much work, man. I mean, and
it's a balancing act.
What has to happen if, at least here anyway, it's what has to happen if you want to get a dog really clicking. You got to be willing to walk with it.
Well, and go ahead, Jared.
One of the things that's hard right now is when you're hunting, when you're guiding and you're outfitting, and a guy flew from Alabama to see a mountain lion.
Yeah.
When you get in that grind that we've been talking about at the earlier part of this show, you don't grab the pup out of the box and start the track. You don't. You're hunting for money. You're getting paid to do a job, right?
Oh,
and
sure.
so when that happens, it changes everything. And then unfortunately it changes the way you hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So like this week, I deliberately took time so I could. 2 days ago, I walked all 4 of those pups through a race, right? Because I knew if I didn't stop and walk them on a lion track by themselves and get them just where they're moving, if I don't do that and I just keep kicking them in, they're just going to turn into that dog that's sitting and waiting for the track to get warm.
Right.
That's the hard part that you don't probably have to worry about over there, Bear, because you're only training, 1 at a time.
Yeah.
But out here, when you're trying to train, like Jared taking on 4, that's crazy, man. Like, especially siblings. It seems like litter mates are always the worst.
Oh, they screw off so bad.
Oh, man.
You let them out in the potty and they're running down the road 300 yards playing grab ass. And it's like, oh, you little buggers, get back here.
And they hold grudges like nothing I've ever seen. Like siblings, if there's a squabble at 12 weeks, man, I've seen dogs that just never forget it, and they act weird around them. Right. But you get, especially early on. I mean, I was there, before I knew it, I was feeding 10 dogs,
Yeah.
went from nothing to feeding a pile. And you just realize that you don't have enough time in your day to do justice by all of them,
Right.
let alone when you have limited opportunities. So,
Right.
like, for somebody to go walk a pup on a lion track, I mean, that's a commitment. This isn't
Sure
like,
is.
you're going out and just kicking them loose and finding a lion. I mean, you're hunting your butt off for them and trying to get them to do it. Well, now you got to do that for 3-4 puppies to get them really going, where they're
Right.
not playing grab ass. You've committed a couple of full days to get essentially one cat. You might have ran
Right.
3 different cats, but it was one in a lot of ways,
One.
because that's the
Right.
only experience each one got. It's
Yeah.
just, it's hard. That's a hard
You're
balance.
you're better off to take one young dog. I personally feel like if you had, let's say you had a pack of 5, and if you brought on a new pup every year or every other year,
Yep.
and you just have that one individual pup and you
Mhm.
can spend time with him, I really think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
I'll be damned if I ever have 2 more dogs go off a cliff again and I'm
And lose
2
it
years
all.
behind. Yeah, I'm not doing that. It kicked me right in the gut.
Oh,
I had a
yeah.
little 1-year-old female, and that last line that she was on, it was, I mean, the snow was waist deep and she was right up there just grabbing hair, man. And it's like, that dog was going to be something. She was going to be special. And I lost her that day, and I was like, that's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fortunate. I mean, I have a kennel. This is what I do every day.
Right.
Taking on 4 is a ton, but I got good kids and I got good help, and we do
And
summer
you're set
camps. And
up.
yeah. There's no way I would ever say the average person should take 4 pups and just try to pick them out. Not gonna
No.
work.
I talked to a
That
guy the other
sounds
day
insane. Yeah.
that he took on 3.
Wow.
And he was calling for some advice. And I said, I will tell you right now, man,
Pick
you
one.
are in for it.
Turn that
I didn't
3 into
even say
1.
that
My advice.
because I don't want to burst somebody's bubble. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it can be done, but man, 3 litter mates, you're going to be, oh, that's rough. That is
It
a
is.
lot of grab ass. That
That's a
is a
lot of
lot.
work, man. Holy
A
cow.
It
lot.
is. Yep.
Holy cow.
I don't know if I
Every-
answered your question, Bear, but
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think
Yeah,
in a
it's-
roundabout way we talked about the general.
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely did, because it's, again,
You're gonna find a dog that you like and the qualities that you like, and they might be a little different than me, a little different than Jason. You're
right.
gonna find your dog, and then you're gonna be like, okay, this dog that I've got here is almost exactly what I want. Maybe a little tweak here and there, and then you're gonna find the guy that's breeding those dogs, and then you'll be in the Flint, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, that, because what I would like is, with it's such a comfortable place to be. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. It's so comfortable to be in that place where you know what you're looking for. And I took that for granted with the Huskies. It was like, okay, yeah, but obviously I know what I'm looking for. I've been doing this for 20 something years.
Right.
And then jumping into a totally different type of dog, it's like, oh man, I didn't realize how comforting that was, man. It's like
Oh, yeah.
like, I'm not going to waste time on that dog, and it's, they're not totally separate things. A working dog is a working dog on some level.
Right.
There's going to be similarities there. So, I think I'm getting closer. I know that grit is going to be something I'm really, going to be. That's going to be my absolute bottom line is grit.
Yeah, because you got a 1-man band, dude.
Right. Exactly.
You can't afford not to have that piece.
Right. I mean, it's, I've got that's got to be the basis for the whole thing, and I'll move from there and keep developing from there. I really, I talked Buzz up an awful lot when he was a pup, and hindsight is 2020. Maybe I should have, I was very, very much aware that he was, and I said it so many times, that this is a much better dog than I am a trainer.
Yeah.
At this point, and I still believe that when he was firing on all cylinders, that was a dog that I was firing in ways that I would have struggled to train if he hadn't done them naturally.
Sure.
Having said that, I really am enjoying this Dan pup. You know, I don't know what he's going to turn out to be as a finished dog. You know, it's too early to say. He's 14 months old in a couple of days, but I'm having a lot of fun. I'm still learning, and I'm still, you know, I'm in such a fortunate position here, especially with this podcast, where I it gives me the reason or the in to call and talk to people who know so much better than me, you know, and I would hate to become one of those, you know, Facebook people who just beat down on other people to build up their own egos, or actually have an ego that's so huge that they can be in a room with these incredibly experienced, gifted dogmen and just be, well, what I've got this dog, I've got, you know, just being so keyed up on
Do you
talking
love how
about
the
themselves.
Mainer accent came out right there?
Yeah.
Like it just triggered like that. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
Yeah. It's like, well, I had this dog one time. It's like,
Yep.
yeah. No, but you know, and
It's
I
hard
love
earned
talking
knowledge,
dogs.
and they
I mean,
like
hell, it's why
sharing.
I'm up here right now. You know, it's why I'm awake right now after, you know, I was up until 1 with Hitta Vanderkamp, and now was up at 4:30 for you guys, you know. It's just because I love to talk about dogs. I love, you know, love everything
No
about
doubt.
the lifestyle, the dogs themselves. You know, it's the dogs more than the hunting that has gotten, you know, kind of gotten me snake bit with everything. And you know, if there's one thing that Buzz has taught me, sort of really drove home. I was aware of it going into it, but it really drove home the point that, you know, if I had been that guy that had been like, well, look at this dog. I am God's gift to houndsmen, y'all. Bow
Right.
down before me. I walked in with no experience, and look what I did.
Right.
Look what I did. You guys can't do this after 20 years. What's wrong with you? You know, if I had walked in with that attitude, man, imagine how I could have just packed it together. I mean, I could never show my face again now with Buzz having, you know, fallen apart the way that he did. You know, and the reality of the situation is that, you know, I'm so fortunate to have the opportunity to talk to people who have forgotten more than I'll ever know.
Yeah,
You know,
Isn't that cool about podcasts?
it's so
I think
it
that's what
is.
that gets me so excited. Not just hound podcasts. I listen to a lot of different ones, but man, it's a platform where you get to talk to guys at that, and you just wouldn't have access to those people normally. You wouldn't have that opportunity.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It's
it's like a
the
wisdom multiplier. Like
right.
all of it's out there.
Right. I
For
mean,
the
the
taking.
podcast that you guys just put out a couple days ago, Jason, the one with Steve's last one.
Oh yeah.
Something ridiculous, like 300 years of combined hunting experience there. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? Like it's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Like
but before you know it, you'll look back and you'll be like, "Oh, I've been doing this 10 years, 20 years." You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
yeah.
Time
it
flies.
flies.
Oh, it
Big
does.
time.
It does. I mean, I couldn't believe. I still kind of can't believe. I was sort of visiting on the phone with a friend from back home, and we got into the sled dogs at about the same time, and we were just talking about old dogs, and I was asking, oh, like, you know, how's that, you know, Esker dog? It's like, oh,
It's been dead for
she's been
5
dead
years.
for 5 years. Yeah, that was exactly it. It was just like,
Yeah.
wow, man, this is crazy. It's crazy how fast
It
that
goes
went.
fast.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how fast it went, you know, and even with the hounds, I'm seeing that, you know, I got Virpi as a young adult. She wasn't more than 14 months old when I got her. And that was 4 years ago, man. I mean, she's all gray.
Yeah.
She's grayed up in her face, and is, you know, is getting to be an older gal now. And it's gone so fast. It's crazy.
Well, that's like, you know, boat Jared's in right now, and I've been in there a couple of times where it's like crap, you know, one bad night and we're in deep trouble. You know, one bad night could ruin the whole pack, or you start seeing them make that shift to older, and next thing you know, it's flying by. Seems
Right.
like, that
Well,
6 to 10 years old goes real quick.
I've got a
No
question for you
doubt.
guys on this topic. I was talking, when I actually touched on this with Hida as well, where he's got his sort of core group of dogs, but then he's got these, a bunch of other guys with dogs from the same litters, and they've managed to kind of keep this real tight-knit group of guys kind of all over the place, all the way from Oklahoma up to BC where he is, with these Coles cat hounds. And one of the things that he mentioned as a positive thing, was that if something bad happens, he was talking about a guy that had 7 of his hounds killed on the same day by a pack of wolves. It's like, if something happens like that to him or one of his buddies, they've got this network in place that kind of will make it so that they're going to get real similar dogs real
Right.
quickly, that it's not going to cripple that line of dog. Like, that line's not going to be gone from the face of the earth.
Like that Mark S stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
when you
yeah.
interviewed Carrie and did that one, those guys got dogs scattered where they need them to be for a reason.
Yep.
And there's dogs out here on the West Coast that'll never see the woods either, but they're there for a reason.
Right.
And it's a safety net kind of deal. Everybody's, shouldn't say everybody, there's the groups, but they're tight.
Right. It seems like a nice way to kind of, make sure that there's going to be some longevity, at least in the line, whatever line, you're working, because as you say, as you pointed out, Jared, I don't think a lot of people have the, your average guy is not going to have the capacity either in time or resources, to be able to keep most of their breeding needs sustain themselves, and they're not going to have the opportunity to run 4 pups at a time,
Right.
So it seems like kind of a nice way, it's like how the Plot guys did it, way back in the day with the group, all the mountain families around them, that they would farm pups out to, and kind of kept, could sort of pick and choose from the best individuals that, if they'd all kept them all, none of those dogs would have turned out, probably, because, not nearly as many of them, because it's just a matter of, how much time you've got in a day.
Right. Yeah, I think that network with with family breeding, man, that's a great way to do it. It really is.
Yeah.
I unfortunately I haven't got to that point but that would be the way to do it, man.
Yeah. It seems.
So I need like 5 or 6 buddies that all hunt really, really hard, that live within about 8 or 10 hours.
8 or 10 hours.
I could farm them all a bunch of dogs, and they could farm them back to me. That, that works great, because if one guy has a litter and he spreads those dogs out, and one dog's going to each home, and then when it's somebody else's time, anyway, you're only raising a litter once every 2 or 3 years, 4 years, but you're getting a pup every year.
Right. Yeah.
Different timings, different, different everything. It works out really good. It works out really slick. Unfortunately, I don't have enough buddies yet.
Taking applications.
Taking applications.
At bestgundogs.com.
Right. Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah. Send your application on the back of a Garmin 200 to.
Yeah.
Send that to, P.O. Box.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it, man. If you could, I think if you're a new houndsman, if you could plug yourself into a network like that somehow, some way, you might have to shovel a lot of dog crap. You might have to walk in and get a lot of dogs or do something. But if you could work your way into that network, man, that's like a gold. That's just gold.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it saves you 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years and your knees, probably. All the walking you're going to avoid doing.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's the truth, man. I think that's not just in terms of, we're talking kind of in terms of dog genetics here, but also just in terms of the amount of experience that you expose yourself to.
Yep.
You're not being that one-man band who with no feedback on, what's working, what's not working, other than your own observations, where, you got 5 or 6 other guys that are doing it with you, or people, not, that are doing it with you, you can really fine tune it much more efficiently than you'd be able to do on your own, I think.
And they can give you positive and negative feedback on what's happening in the family of dogs too. It's like, well, that litter sucked. Well, we're not doing that again,
Right.
Or hey, this is really working good. So
yeah, for sure. Oh, it's true. It's true. Well, we're actually closing up on 2 hours, guys. This
Look at the time.
It goes so fast, man. It's unbelievable.
It does.
Jared's ready for bed.
It was good to catch up with you guys, man.
Yeah,
sure
it was, man. It was.
It's been a while.
It has been. Yeah, we were gonna do.
I'll try to do better.
No,
it's not just you, man. I've been in a hole too.
Yeah,
we need to do some more training talks.
Family and dogs.
Yeah, I've been getting some questions too. I got questions today. I need to forward you the messages. Yeah, it's time. It's time.
You let me know.
Few people are like, "Hey, hey, where'd you go?
What happened to that Jared guy?
Are you dead?
Are you dead, man? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff. You got some great stuff happening there at W. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys do have a bunch happening. I listened to the one with Ben today. I'm a little bit behind. Listen to that one on my way home from work today.
Yeah, he's starting his own.
Yeah, splitting off and doing his own thing. That's pretty exciting.
And then, it is. I'm excited for him. And then,
I wrote him a message, told him that I was happy for him, and I was sure he was going to do great. But he's of course dead to us now.
Yeah.
So this is the last time you'll ever hear us mention. No, I'm just kidding. Just messing with you, Ben.
He's gonna hit the big time.
There is something to be said about this energy, though. I mean, I've done an individual podcast, and it's great. But there is something that's, I don't know. There's something there with family or friends or whatever you want to call it, groups of like-minded people. There's a synergy there that I think it's going to perpetuate. The snowball effect will keep. It'll work. It'll work.
Yeah,
I know it does for me. I get, if Bear says, "Hey, let's get together," it's a lot more. I commit myself more than if I'm going to have to do my own podcast by myself.
Right.
That's so.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, or hang on just a second. Let's end the recording. I'll say thanks for everybody for listening.
Oh, Bear!
We'll get back to you.
All right, sounds good.
Man, I love that sound.